Imagine a place so inhospitable that no living being can prosper. A sea so saturated with salt that its very existence is a barrier to life. This is the Dead Sea, one of the most fascinating and challenging places on our planet. For millennia, it has been synonymous with aridity and desolation. But if I told you that an ancient biblical prophecy, which speaks of this sea returning to life, may be fulfilled before our eyes? Recently, the internet has been flooded with curious reports. Fishes would be appearing in the Dead Sea. Is this true, or just another modern legend? To understand, we need to dive into the depths of one of the most impressive visions of the prophet Ezekiel. In his book, chapter 47, it is written, "Every living creature that passes through wherever it wants to enter these waters will live, and there will be a lot of fish." This is a journey to unravel a prophetic mystery, which can reveal a lot about the signs of time. But get ready, because the answer can surprise you and show that the time to reflect is now. The vision of Ezekiel, a river of life in the heart of desolation. The Bible reveals that this area of the Dead Sea was not always the desolate place we know today. It used to be an exuberant, fertile plain compared to the Lord's own garden. This landscape changed drastically after the divine judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah, when fire and sulfur rained from the sky, turning the plain into a desert and the Dead Sea into an impenetrable and lifeless lake. In the heart of the scriptures, there are prophecies that transcend judgment and correction. Speaking of life, restoration, and renewal, Ezekiel's vision in chapter 47 is one of those. Ezekiel was not an ordinary prophet. He was a priest who lived exile in Babylon, witnessing the devastation of Jerusalem and the destruction of the temple. In the midst of this deep pain and loss, God granted him grandiose visions of a future of restoration. He saw a new temple for Israel, and from it the river that would bring life to everything that touched. Ezekiel is led in spirit to contemplate this miraculous river, which comes from the temple in Jerusalem, springs through the desert, and descends towards the East Sea, our known Dead Sea. What he describes is extraordinary, a river that infuses life where before there was complete stagnation and infertility. The Bible reports in Ezekiel 47:8 and 9, "After this he made me return to the door of the house, and behold, waters came out below the threshold of the house, to the east, and entering the sea, the waters became unhealthy. And will every living creature that passes through wherever it wants to enter these waters live? And there will be a lot of fish, and everything will live wherever it wants to enter this river." This image is powerful. The Dead Sea, a place historically linked to aridity and divine judgment, about Sodom and Gomorrah, Genesis 13:10, now being touched by a river that brings complete renewal. Ezekiel's vision is not just a geographical description, it is profoundly spiritual and eschatological. It points to the full restoration of Israel, to the arrival of the kingdom of God, and to a period in which all creation will be renewed by the living presence of the Lord. Ezekiel 47:12 still complements by saying, "Next to the river at its bank, on one side and the other, all kinds of trees will be born that bear fruit to eat, because their waters come out of the sanctuary, and their fruit will serve as food, and its leaf as medicine." The prophesied resurrection of the Dead Sea, therefore, is not just an isolated ecological miracle, but serves as a powerful physical symbol of a coming era when the fortunes of Israel, long neglected and apparently dead among the nations, will be miraculously transformed and restored to vibrant life. Signs of transformation in the Dead Sea today. The big question is, are we starting to see the first signs of this fulfillment in our days? The Dead Sea, with its past of desolation, would it really be showing signs of transformation? Anyone who visits the shores of the Dead Sea today realizes that the scenario is changing drastically. For centuries, this sea has maintained a relatively stable level, but in recent decades it has receded at an alarming rate. Studies show that it loses about 1 to 1.5 meters deep per year. This phenomenon is mainly caused by the increasing use of the waters of the Jordan River, its main source of human consumption and irrigation, as well as climatic and environmental factors that intensify evaporation. Since the first British measurements in 1900, the water level has receded an impressive 80 meters, and the coastline has advanced about 1 kilometer. This drastic decrease in the water level revealed vast extensions of land that were previously submerged, exposing surprising phenomena. However, with the recession of the waters, something surprising began to emerge. Where there used to be only salty and sterile land, now craters and cavities are formed on the ground, known as balinies or sinkholes, but these are not mere dry depressions. In many of them, sweet or salty waters sprout from the subsurface, fed by underground sources that come down from the mountains of Israel, including the region of Jerusalem. Rivers and springs of water, including hot water sources, sprout in the middle of the desert. In addition, salt formations previously hidden now shine under the sun. Curiously, the salt pearls, which were abundant and perfect, are disappearing or changing shape due to the recession of the water. Where sweet water touches, life arises. Plants begin to sprout spontaneously, in places that were completely sterile until a short time ago. More than that, in some of these areas, small streams of sweet water have formed, which flow towards the ancient bed of the Dead Sea. We are witnessing an unexpected natural phenomenon, sweet water flowing into an environment that has always been dominated by extreme salinity. For many, this raises an inevitable question. Are we seeing a prediction of the prophesied river in Ezekiel 47? As these streams and sweetwater balines multiply, something even more surprising was noticed. The presence of animal life, especially fish. If, in some of the balines with sufficiently sweet or salty waters, witnesses and scientists record the presence of small fish swimming freely. Where did they come from? Specialists explain that some native species in the region have a remarkable ability to adapt, being able to live both in fresh water and in water with some degree of salinity. With the emergence of these new sources of fresh water, these species, which already inhabited nearby springs and streams, find a way to establish themselves in the new lagoons. It is crucial to note that we are not talking about deep waters in the Dead Sea, which remain extremely saline. Life is emerging in small areas located in the balines and streams formed recently. Although the number of fish may vary and are not always visible, the fact is that life flourished where there was no hope before. A powerful reminder for our days. 856. These events lead us to reflect. We would be witnessing a glimpse of what was announced in the scriptures, the prophecy of Ezekiel. It reminds us that where the presence of God manifests itself, life flourishes. The river that comes out of the temple is not just a stream of water, it is a symbol of God's own life, which brings total restoration. Those leaves for medicine mentioned in Ezekiel 47:12 speak of physical, emotional, and spiritual healing. The modern state of Israel emerged, against all odds, as a significant actor in the world scenario, with a prosperous and robust economy, driven by a remarkable world leader innovation. At the same time, the growing number of Jewish people, both in Israel and around the world, is beginning to believe that Jesus of Nazareth and Yeshua is in fact their so-promised Jewish Messiah. This spiritual awakening aligns perfectly with other prophecies of Ezekiel, found in Ezekiel 36:24-26, where God promises that when the Jewish people return from the nations where they were scattered, they will receive a new heart and will be spiritually purified. God is the only one capable of transforming what is dead into something vibrant, full of fruits, and with the power of healing. What is happening in the Dead Sea is a powerful reminder that God's promises are eternal, and His word is always fulfilled. He is a specialist in restoring what was broken, in bringing life where there was destruction, and in renewing what seemed irreversible. As it is written in Isaiah 35, "The desert and the dry place will rejoice. The seed will blossom and flourish like the rose." Embrace hope and renewal. More than a geographical curiosity, the situation of the Dead Sea is an invitation to look at our own life. You are ready to receive the river of life that God has for you so that the waters of your spirit touch your heart, restoring what is arid or renewing the areas marked by pain, fatigue, or despair, that we can live with spiritual eyes attentive to the signs, prepared for the prophetic times that are approaching and firm in the hope of the glorious coming of Jesus Christ.